Call to order Harris County Improvement District Number 1 Board of Directors meeting, February 27th, 2019. And the first order of business is to approve the minutes of the December 12th, 2018 Board of Directors minutes.
That one, page 1.
Need a motion?
Yes, please.
Motion.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried, minutes are approved. Next item is to receive comments or questions from the public. Did anyone sign up for comments or questions? Our next item is to review the quarterly investment report, tab 2, page 4. Shannon, if you could take us through that, please.
Okay, thank you. Page 4 is the first page of the 2-page report. It is for the reporting period of October 1st through December 31st, 2018. This first page outlines the 3 different funds and the balances within them. For our general operating fund, at the end of December, we had roughly $3.4 million with Capital One Bank, which is our primary depository. With BBVA Compass, we had a little over $1 million, and for a total of 4.4 in capital general operating fund, The middle section is for our capital projects fund. At the end of the reporting period, we had roughly $8.3 million with Capital One Bank. We had a little over $6 million in this capital fund, but it is invested with the Regions Investment Management Account to the tune of 6.1 for a total of 14.5. And finally, in our debt service fund with Capital One Bank, we had just over $500,000. The second page of the report outlines those balances that require collateral and the collateral behind them. With our BBVA Compass deposit, we have a Federal Home Loan Bank letter of credit, which suffices as our collateral. With our Capital One deposits up for a total of $12.3 million, we have just over $13 million of authorized collateral. And then with our funds sitting with Regions, those are authorized investments that do not require collateral, and they are invested in short-term agencies and treasuries that are approved under the investment policy. The middle section is for compliance training. The investment officer requires 10 hours of training every 2 years, and both John and myself are in compliance with that. And the last section is a list of approved brokers and dealers, and there have been no changes for that.
Stephen, do we have to approve this by motion or just receive it?
Just review.
Are there any questions? Thank you, Shannon, for reviewing the report. If there are no questions, the next item is to review the quarterly budget report found on page 6.
Okay, thank you. Page 6, we've outlined the capital budget for those capital bond proceeds. If you see here, this is year-to-date actual spending versus the total budget. We are on budget. We are getting in grant funds that are then passed through to the UDA for the postal project. 11.3 year-to-date we've collected. We estimate about 20 for the year. We had a bond sale in October. We collected the proceeds of 9.7, so we're done with that. And then you can see the projects that we have slated for these funds. We've spent the funds on the Holiday Stars. We are spending on Post Oak Lane, our pedestrian pylons and the like. If you have questions or need more information or detail, please feel free to ask. But we do expect to be within our budget for capital projects.
Any comments or questions about that report? Okay, so our next item is to adopt a resolution concerning exemption of residential homesteads from taxation, found on page 8.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's that time of year again to approve the district's homestead exemptions. And this board has traditionally granted a $15,000 exemption for homestead owners that are over 65 or disabled, and a blanket 20%, but not less than $5,000 for all homesteads in the district.
So this is the same exemption rates that we've been doing in the past?
Yes, same as last year and same as many years before that, 15 years at least.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
so moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Our next item is to adopt a resolution providing for additional penalty for tax collection costs, found on page 9. Stephen, could you take us through that, please?
This is the second in our yearly tax resolutions. In this one, we have to approve an additional penalty for tax collection costs. Any taxes that remain delinquent after July 1 are assessed an additional 20%, and that is used to defray the cost of collecting the delinquent taxes.
Stephen, did the city and county do something similar to this?
They, the Harris County Tax Assessor Collector's Office collects our taxes, and they are the ones that actually employ the delinquent tax attorneys. But because we are a taxing entity, we have to approve that additional levy on the delinquent tax bills. The county and their attorneys actually do the collection.
Okay.
And this puts us, we're synchronized
In
with
line
them.
with what everybody else does, yes.
Correct. Any other comments or questions? Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor? Okay, motion carries. Our next item is to accept disclosure memorandum of the investment officer, found on page 10.
Under the Texas Public Funds Investment Act, John, as investment officer, has to disclose any relationships he has with any entities that are seeking to or have sold investments to the district, and John is disclosing that he has none of those relationships.
Is this a motion to accept?
A motion to accept your disclosure memorandum.
So
Any-
moved, so moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries. Our next item is to review the district's investment policy and consider approval of any recommended changes, found on page 11.
Thank you. Page 11 starts the district's investment policy. There were no updates this year. If you turn to page 28, the yellow tab, you can see the summary that we usually try to prepare for you. It's required each year that the board reviews and approves the investment policy. We are making no changes this year. So this overview kind of outlines each section and a description of what is contained in that section. And again, there are no updates that we're making this year.
Mr. Chairman, in years past, we have always been willing for the board to consider this and vote on it next month, and so always want to be considerate of that. But this is the policy that was approved last year with no changes, and it would be up to the board whether they consider it for a decision today or wait for the future. We need to do it in the near term.
Does anybody have a thought on that, or do we want to go ahead and approve it since there's no changes, or do we want to take a month to consider it?
Do we expect to have any new information if we wait a month?
No.
This is,
Does anyone see a reason not to approve it now?
It's almost a motion.
I'll ask for a motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Our next item of business is to go into executive session. And so we need to invite our guests.
Mr. Chairman, I was wondering if we could change the order of things and maybe go into the executive session at the end, or we could do it right now. It's just, we have,
So we could skip to 11?
Yes, you can consider
Same
the
time.
items in any order you like.
Makes sense.
All right, so that sounds like an excellent idea. Let's skip to item 11. First casualty of the battle is the plan. So number 11, let's consider the approval of the change order for the purchase of additional Uptown Houston holiday obelisks.
okay.
Tab 3, page 36.
I can look at the computer up here just a moment. Though you always want to come here and stand near me. You have that in, not the, there's no antenna there. By the way, I want to say it was an operator error, it's previous. So, if you remember, back in December of 2017, we went through a very long process whereby we looked at what we were going to do for the holiday decorations that we've done historically, really beginning the management district here, goes all the way back to 1986, and putting the Christmas lighting, the trees along Post Oak Boulevard, and they were very, very, very successful. As we have rebuilt Post Oak Boulevard, we had to really find something new, and the end result of that was a new holiday, we call them obelisks, they're sort of trees, and they'll be approximately every 80 feet. And we have historically only had them from San Felipe to Westheimer. In board action in December, enough of the trees were purchased to actually run from the West Loop all the way down Post Oak Boulevard down to Richmond. At that time, we signed a contract for 260 of these trees. And just to go over, this is basically what the object is. And if you looked at the concepts of how it would be placed on Post Oak Boulevard, it would be basically a row on the sidewalk and then in the medians. This is sort of a southbound view. And then on the other side, you'll also see a row of trees on both the sidewalk and the median. Given the increase in the size of the median, you really, if we didn't do that, we would really lose seeing the two sides because of all the trees that are in the middle. But if you'll notice in this, that when we get to a left-hand turn lane, we lose, or at our bus stations, we lose the ability to have a location for the trees. So we're coming to you today to offer a suggestion of how we might could more effectively keep the entire area sort of lit up, and particularly at major intersections and at the new bus stations. To give you an example of that, I hope you can see this. The yellow are the proposed locations of the obelisk. And you can see that we have them on the sidewalk on both sides. And then we have them, if you go back, look all the way down here, we have them on the 10-foot median on either side in the median. But when we get a left-hand turn, and as you approach San Felipe, you lose all of that, and so you only have trees on one side. And the same thing happens over here northbound, where we have a very long extended left-hand turn lane. You really lose that sort of two rows of holiday decoration. Our suggestion is to come back in and at the major intersections, which also correspond with where the stations are for the transit system, putting 3 trees in those locations. And so if we sort of go through this, you can see here at Ambassador Way the difference that it makes. It sort of, again, sort of creates at key intersections, which are often the entrances into major commercial area, the one place where you want it as nice looking as you can, it would be darker. Here we are at Westheimer, as you see, almost all of that is without any lights in the middle. And if we simply came in and did some at the station, I think we're showing it down here near Richmond, between Fairdale and Richmond, doing the same thing. Just to give you a summary of all this, we have, through sort of final design and construction, there's actually 5 more locations on the sidewalks where we need to buy trees for. And then we have 15 bus station locations where we would have the 3 trees. And so there are a total of 50 units that we'd like to purchase. These would also give us the ability to have some attic stock. We basically have it in use. If we got to the point where we had a wreck or something that destroyed some, we could take some of these where there's 3, take them down to 2, rearrange them a little bit, and have pretty effective look. So we have money within the existing capital budget for this acquisition. We currently don't even have enough trees to do what we need on the sidewalks, and we have no attic stock. So this really takes care of sort of 3 things: attic stock, fill in locations that have been defined as we built the project, and then the third thing is really try to light up those intersections where we probably need the most. If you think about Richmond and Westheimer and San Felipe, those are really our gateways to the area, and this would light that up. So I'm more than happy. These are the costs that were bid for these items. in 2017. And so 50 of them come in at $738,600. Be more than happy to help in the discussion.
Are the obelisks in place all year long, or they come and go with the season?
They come and go with the season.
And so how long are they in place?
Probably early November to January, so 8 to 10 weeks.
Is all the service to them in place?
Yes, all the infrastructure needed to make this happen is already being built in that project. Yeah, this, all you have to do, this is a plug and play thing.
Do we have all the other units? Have we received them yet? or-
No, we don't. We could be receiving them, but we just, we're short on warehouse space right now, and so they're being kept where everything's fabricated. But we hope to have, in May or June, actually going through the electrical system and the control system and the installation. We'll probably take a small area in the area and actually go do a test case of, how does all this work together? But they are in production, and, but most of them are actually still in the fabrication yard.
Any other comments or questions? If not, do we,
Did the project come in with your holiday before, where were you at in your overall budget from what you initially thought? Is this all in addition to, or do you have a little room that?
We have the funds in the capital budget. We budgeted this. If we didn't spend it on this, potentially just save it. We could perhaps do something else. But we think that as much as we've invested, and that where these key locations, and I'm gonna go right back up here, Post-up Boulevard, and Westheimer, let me go to this. You just, the real difference is that here is the center of our retail universe. And so there's just something missing, and by doing this investment, we need at least half of these probably. We need probably 20 of these for attic stock, just to be safe. And so our thought would be, is that we would use these, and as we needed them, we'd basically, we'd install our attic stock. And as time went on, if we had to take from doing 3 at this location and do 2, but we'd have then several to replace up and down the boulevard. So it would simultaneously take care of lighting up an intersection as well as providing an attic stock for us.
John, would these best be put as completing the design as drawn with the conditions finally seen out there?
I think the reality is, as we build this, we go, there's a hole here that we didn't anticipate.
Sight lines being at the key intersections, I mean, these are obviously wider than tree trunks, but it won't create.
In the
a problem.
4-foot median that is, so if I'll walk back up here, we basically, if you're a northbound bus, you'll come through the intersection into this lane, and here is your bus station. This is actually a left-hand turn lane over here. And so what, as you're pulled in, excuse me, yes, as you're pulled in here for your left-hand turn, you will have these between you and the bus station, if you will. If you'll think about it, as you just can visualize yourself turning in the left-hand turn lane, you will have trees to your left and to your right, which I think was a key part of that original concept, was to have the lining of not only the center median and the sidewalks on both sides. Historically, our boulevard, you could do it on sidewalk on either side, you can see both, you can experience both, and with the changes, it just won't work that way anymore.
John, just because the dots are larger, it's the same prototype, correct?
Yeah, yes, visual effect, thank you.
What's their diameter?
Oh, my goodness, I think they're about 4 feet. They're oval, about 2 by 4. 3 by 6?
I think so. On the bottom, of course.
There's if I cheat just a moment, I'll give you the scale here. So there I am peering down into the cauldron. But they are obviously they're oval, because we have a very narrow location, narrow sidewalks, et cetera. And so,
What is the area of the obelisk cone? No, I'm kidding.
This is a test.
SAT question.
That's right, the math.
It's gonna look really nice.
Well, I think, I think this area is Houston's retail center. I think that we have a long tradition over the last 30 years of what lighting this area means. And I think we have seen, as we've gone through construction, how dark it's been and how important it is to recapture our position as kind of the retail place you go.
So what
that
I
you
would
have
ask the
experience.
retailers in the room, how do you feel about this?
Yes.
It's gonna be red,
It's gonna be, we're gonna have all kinds of things.
all sorts of colors.
Yes.
All right. So with that, can I request a motion to approve the change order as discussed? Need a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Do you want to do the update on Post Oak Boulevard?
Let's go ahead and do that as well.
Item 12, to receive an update on the project.
Robert, if you would stand, we, once again, let me just say that I don't know who's praying for rain, but if you could just take a break for a while.
It's working. The sun's coming.
That you know, we had to find a day where we could actually get out there, and this was this weekend. But I will tell you, our crews have had to work through this disgusting weather, and, you know, we're willing to buy the raincoats, but they have been out there and continue to make progress. Robert, I'll let you lead from here.
Before we start rolling, this is a good example. Of our biggest uncompleted portion on the north section is the traffic signals. We are currently installing new permanent traffic signals back and gonna get rid of the wooden poles and the span wires with the traffic heads on it. This is at 610. It's the highway department's pole. It's not our stainless steel, but this is the first one we're gonna get in operation. There are 13 intersections that we have to turn on. You can schedule maybe one a week with the city of Houston to come turn on, so it's going to be 13 to 15 weeks before we get all the traffic signals off the wooden poles onto our stainless steel and operating. Go ahead. We've done some landscaping. You can see all the sidewalks, all the trees are in. What we don't have in the medians between the trees right now is the uplights that we're gonna have into the trees. And that's why you'll see holes between trees. We're going to get in there. They just came in yesterday, 82 of them out of about 140, I believe. And we'll start installing those next week and get all the electrical stuff done. Oops. We have completed, you can see here's a bus foundation for the shelters that'll go in on these things. Again, there are 16 of them, 15 locations, but 16 shelters going in. The arms are on our left turns. The only thing left is, on this section is, again, the uplighting in the middle. Once we get the electrical done in the middle, we can start backfilling with good dirt. And John's very anxious to start getting the flowering done, and we will continue to do that as we get the electrical done in the middle. Again, the arms are on, ready for the heads. We'll start getting heads and controllers in for the traffic signals. All the trees are in this segment. There's nothing. This will be stop here a minute. This is Westbriar. This is a northbound left turn controlled. This will stop, this bar will stop the southbound traffic and allow left turns into this area, which is BHP and Four Oaks Shopping Center. Mr. Ditterstein's project is now under construction. They're gonna do their map, I understand, sometime in mid-March and get that done. They will consume the curb length here with their pedestrian path, their protected pedestrian path while they're under construction. So soon this curb lane will be closed off with that structure for the next, 6 months or 9 months?
I think it was 9.
9, yeah. San Felipe, we're working on getting the controller set up. This is another major intersection that we're trying to get into the stainless steel. We just poured this platform for the bus shelter. Keep going just a little bit further. Remember, we, go ahead.
North or south?
South. We have taken down hedges sometimes as much as 5 or 6 feet wide as they grow. And
Hold on.
in this location here, you can see this is Leadcore property. On a wall that we built, we're putting a fencing which has some dirt underneath it, 11 inches of dirt that we will plant, is it jasmine that
Yes.
climbs? Jasmine, flowering jasmines along that will serve as the hedge, but it'll be much skinnier, and we give that room to the pedestrians.
Historically, that 12 feet had been consumed by probably 4 foot of shrub. And by going to this green fence, we can do that in 6 inches and provide more space for pedestrians.
We did some work here on, with the arches, and we're repaving some of the parking area for the Whole Foods store because the arches. Another area where the arms are ready for the signals to get going. These are the holes where the lights will go in soon, next week. And they're just cleaning out manholes here. This is just temporary to clean it out because we're gonna get inspected for all the underground stuff. So when the city comes, we want nice clean storm sewers for them and pass the inspection. We're working on starting the platform for the station here at Ambassador Way. This is Lynn Lane under construction still. As we continue south, Guildford. Gotta get up over those arches, there we go. And there'll be another set of platforms at Guildford. That's just dirt at this point, working our way south. What we call Lock Lane. And we will in the next 3 weeks be working to finish. This is the only pavement left that we haven't completed. You can see that we've completed the bus lane up here, but this connection is the last connection of old pavement that will be taken out, and we will be pouring that in the next couple of weeks. Westheimer, the bus lane, these are the bus lanes that's freshly poured on a Sunday. And we're currently using this bus lane in a detour that this is now the left turn currently today, and we were working on busting out and completing it from this edge to this edge of the permanent pavement for this just in this 25 feet here.
Although you might not understand, if you drive through it, you'll understand.
Working on all 4 corners of Westheimer, and this is the area that is least complete at this moment. So we'll get the 4 corners in, get the bus lanes south of here completed in the next month. They'll be done, and we'll be planting trees and getting the rest of this portion between Alabama and Westheimer completed to the same level as you saw further north. That was your entrance into this. This is an entrance into Dillard's parking lot. So these are what we call go-see-though. They basically cross each other, but there are controlled intersections with this mast stopping northbound traffic for entrance into Dillard's. Coming up in Alabama, we were pouring the foundations for the bus stations there, which are both on the south side. Back to back, these bus lanes and the platforms, and these are the ramps that will come down to the crosswalk.
It's the only location where we have bus stations that aren't split on either side of the intersection.
And Getting on to Hidalgo, we've completed all the sidewalk work on the east side. We've got the work on the west side here to complete that. We're gonna get into Waterwall Park and do between the first row and second row pedestrian path. Trees have been put in down this segment and past Hidalgo to the arches. At this point, we're basically, we could stop right about there. We're transferring, and at this point, these concrete median barriers were set up by TxDOT's contractor, and traffic was moved over so they could start working on the southbound lanes from what we call Fairdale Transco private road to Richmond, and through Richmond all the way past Chick-fil-A. They're currently getting ready to pour that. They put the Richmond intersection on a temporary signal operation, and they are joining us in an accelerated effort to get this portion done before the end of this calendar year.
They're moving, there'll be a new ramp that will take West Hummer traffic to downtown or to Sugar Land, basically remove some of the weeding in this area. In order to do that, they're literally moving Post Oak Boulevard to the west about 45 feet.
All the way about here.
So it's a pretty big change down the south end.
Robert, the time to be done there by the end of the year?
The street portion would be, they'll still be probably working on the ramp, which is almost twin to this right down next to it.
Down the middle?
No, it'll be hugging about 6 feet
The whole
off of this.
boulevard moves so far to the
Yeah.
west that it will be on the east side of the new Post Oak Boulevard.
That's it, and just to go forward into that shop, that's Williams Brothers working right there. Go. This is a picture of our structure being welded together, the steel portion of it being welded together.
Laying on its
And
side.
it's laying on its side, so this is the roof, and this is the columns coming down on the platform.
How long is this, Robert?
It's 50 feet, I believe.
And then-
45 between columns.
And then the glass will be attached, it had glass roof, glass sides. In the end, well, that's a very, very early sketch, but the concept is kind of what's shown up here.
We also throw into this time, we got some pictures of our transit center. That is, again, this is viewing from the west, looking east to downtown there, the west loop, 5969. This is the current existing HOV or transit lane, and this is the new T-ramp being constructed to our site that is over here. It's another picture of it from our site looking north now towards the Uptown area. Coming off the end, this is where our building will come up to the ramp on the third level. Buses will come off Sugarland busway and our park and ride lot, swing into our lot off of this and go back and head downtown and back and forth like that. So we'll build up to that level, and we're preparing our site. This is primarily the site shot with a lot of our detention going in. We had to detain all the storm water on site, so this is some underground detention that'll be in a fire lane along the southern perimeter, and the western perimeter is all roadway or fire lanes, and so we'll put the drainage underneath there. Wonderful what they do with plastic. That's it at this point.
I thought I'd just back this up. This is, we received a grant for this, and TxDOT is building this project, and we basically left the money in TxDOT's hands for all the work here, and we're providing the local match. And so I think Robert maybe can have it this over here on this camera right here. You might just look at it as you come by. Again, you sort of recognize the transit way coming in here, And this is our site running all the way from Micro Center back to this street, and it's just immediately north of the landscape, the Greg Thompson's landscape facility there. So progress is ongoing. Robert, what's the schedule like for this project?
It's still scheduled to be completed by the end of this calendar year.
You were telling me that, so Metro has got to go in and outfit it for some of their equipment, et cetera, and we're hoping to get them in there.
By November or so.
Okay.
John, what's the completion for the West Loop portion?
Well, it is currently scheduled for early 2020, but they have made gains. They did open up the west Post Oak ramp early. I believe they are going to get done by that time, not prior to that time. Williams Brother is making great gains on that.
There has been suggestions, just among staff working, that they could significantly beat their schedule. That might mean fall of 19 maybe, but I think you operate under the concept of first quarter of 20, but I think they'll beat that.
That's when they're operational, or that's when our work?
That's when construction will be completed. They'll be drivable. So I assume Metro would be doing test case, fitting it out with any communications that they need. Metro is also doing work north of Memorial on Post Oak Road, as well as at their transit center. So there's still work going on up there that I think we're still working toward operational services in the first quarter of 2020. And that's what we're all driving forward. For everybody else that's driving automobiles, you're going to see some relief potentially 6 months early. Okay?
Correct.
That's just an update. Any other questions? Mr. Chairman, so we have jumped over and covered everything else. We are asking for an executive session for personnel matters. It's shown on our agenda. And unfortunately, for everyone that is not on the board, I ask you to leave. Thank you so very much.
Back out of executive session, and we have one item left, which is item 10. Do we have any motions regarding item 10?
Yes, I move that we table item 10.
Okay, the motion's been made to table item 10. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Item 10 is tabled, and we stand adjourned.